Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Needle Point podcast. I'm your host, the tattoo sociologist, aka Mass. Today, we're going to be talking about tattoo conventions, and I can think of nobody better to talk about tattoo conventions with than my guest, Durb Morrison. Durb, if you want to introduce yourself a little bit.
Yeah, what's up, man? My name is Durb Morrison. I've been tattooing since 1991, so I'm going on about 32 years of tattooing. I also put on the Hell City Tattoo Festival, both here in Columbus, Ohio, and also Phoenix, Arizona. Here in Columbus, Ohio, I own Red Tree Tattoo Gallery, which is Ohio's largest tattoo studio, and it's connected to True Tattoo Supply, which is my supply company that I started about 16 years ago by inventing like True Tubes and True Grips and some original tattoo products that kind of focused on artist health and safety. Nowadays, right now, my focus is on, the studio and True Tattoo Supply, but also, bringing back the Hell City Tattoo Festival. We're coming up on our 20th year anniversary, so it's a pretty special one. We're really hoping that things kind of hold off and we can reignite the Hell City Tattoo Festival in 2022, both in Ohio and Phoenix.
Yeah, man, hoping that too. But I mean, you've been around for a long time, no matter what kind of, no matter what aspect we talk about it within the tattoo world. Like your supply company's been around for 16 years. The Hell City's been around for 20. You've been tattooing yourself for, is it 30 years now?
Yeah, it's 32 years now, actually, and wow. That was since I was 17. But I gave my first few tattoos, and kind of was doing tattoos when I was 13. So I didn't really, I kind of count where I professionally started tattooing, but it would be 36 years that since I've done my first tattoo on anyone.
Wow, but so when did you go to your first convention? Like yourself, when was the first time you went as an artist to a convention?
Yeah, man. Right when I was 18, I started working for a gentleman, Tim Miller, here in Columbus, Ohio. And my first convention ever, my tattoo convention, was the Easy Riders Bike and Tattoo Rodeo that they had here at Vets Memorial in Columbus, Ohio. So I went to tattoo with Tim, and I was kind of just, fresh to all this stuff. I was fresh to working in studios. I was fresh to the convention scene. But even people I met back then, and this is what made me realize like the power of conventions and community, is people I met back then, I still know today from that one convention. I was just in a flooring place because me and my wife were redoing some floors and bathrooms and stuff. And one of the guys that worked there was a guy that I actually had a photo with of me and him. I did a pinhead tattoo on him. And it was a photo when I was 18 years old with this guy. And he's like, "You're Durb, right? You did my tattoo." And I was like, "I got a photo of us, So conventions to me have been an important part of not just the lifestyle of tattooing, but my life as a tattooer has rotated around conventions since day one because I was introduced to those. So in my mind, that's part of tattooing is getting out there and being a part of the community, traveling, and hitting the conventions.
Well, what makes conventions more special, so to speak? Because I mean, traveling, you can also do guest spots here and there,
Yeah. I think the important thing is just getting to meet the people, hanging over the shoulders, bumping elbows, the artist handshake, competing, at first, like back then, not so much nowadays, but like, taking my clients with me to the conventions to compete, things like that. And just really just being a part of tattooing. You get to meet the photographers from the magazines, you get to meet people from clothing companies, So I think it's really just immersing yourself in the culture and the community.
It's really where everything like meets, no matter what aspect it is, from cool bands to, as you say, clothing companies, the tattoo artists, to supply companies, magazines, everything. It just converges onto tattoo conventions.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where people come together. That's where I think a lot of these companies benefit each other too, because I mean, as far as supply companies, you meet a lot of the artists that are working with your products that you see them online tagging in social media stuff, but to actually meet the artists and the communities, it's important. It really is.
Yeah, definitely. But I imagine it's also like, no matter what, it's an amazing networking opportunity, even just with other artists.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the another thing too is like I've always said, coming back from a convention should humble you as an artist, like as a tattooer. You should come back humbled. You see so much amazing talent. You meet all these artists that you've looked up to, and you see how they're doing it, and it kind of like knocks you down a notch. Where you're like, oh shit, you see what everybody's doing, and you go back home from a convention. I think it makes you work harder. It humbles you, makes you work harder, or it can influence you to go back and change your style or try different things, as an artist. So
Do you think it's become more about that nowadays, like meeting others, getting inspired, or being humbled, like taking a step back, or was that more
yeah.
back in the day?
No, I think it's still nowadays. I think it's just that's a natural part of any of these conventions.
Mm.
That's why you go to them. You go to them to see the big dogs and to see new things and stuff like that. I think nowadays, one of the good aspects of conventions, like that really complements kind of like that whole theory, is seminars.
Mm.
A lot of tattoo conventions nowadays have like really good educational seminars, or there's conventions just based for seminars.
Yeah, you see more of
Like
those
the
popping up.
coalition. Yeah, like the coalition, for tattoo artists, the one in Vegas that Mario puts on. It's amazing. It's a trade show, it's a tattoo convention, it's seminars, and that's kind of what we've come to. It's like you said, all encompassing, and it's all encompassing as far as the products and the artists, education, stuff like that. So it's exciting, man, where conventions have come to.
Yeah, man.
You know,
Well, you kind of see the development in the entire tattoo industry and community when you go to a convention.
yeah.
Like you
Oh yeah.
notice it way more vividly there. For example, the whole thing with the tattoo artists have taken a step that, okay, there's no technical formal education, so we'll educate each other, we'll figure out stuff within the community together with scientists sometimes, and then we'll teach it to each other. Like you take that upon yourself in the tattoo industry, which is quite impressive because you don't do that in many other industries.
It's a hands-on, it's definitely
Yeah,
hands-on. You
definitely.
have an apprenticeship, but there has to be what do they call it, a visualization and an actualization. There has to be a time when you just actualize it and start tattooing.
So when and how did you first get into creating your own tattoo convention?
Man, from doing conventions since I was like 18, and I started doing a lot of different conventions back then and hitting the circuit and kind of just seeing some of the shortcomings of the other shows, whether or not they were like laid out well or people really put time into them, the caliber of artists, the focus on the artists, not just the comfort, but the safety of the artists, safety of the clients, all that stuff. But really when I started doing Hell City, it was from seeing so many people putting on conventions that either didn't tattoo, that didn't give a shit, and it just wasn't a visually, sound show. It didn't run well. They didn't know what the art, because for me to be in the, I guess the industry or the convention promotion side, to not have experienced tattooing or to be a tattooer, you don't have this connection. You don't know that the way we think, so seeing too much of that shit go down, made me really be like, you know what, I could put on a show that represents tattooing and, in a positive light, and kind of start bringing new edges and angles and stuff like that to it. So back when I did the first Hell City convention in 2002, it kind of like changed the game. There's a lot of different stuff, the look of it, the feel of it, the events that we had at the main stage, different tattoo competition, just like we kind of changed it up. We had tattoo theaters, we had fine art galleries, we had live painting exhibitions going on. And we had a lot of people like Guy Aitchison working with us with Interstate and scratch art projects and stuff. Chris Dingwell does the wet paint project. So that's a live painting project that we have. So bringing that whole new flavor, instead of just looking at shows that were just literally throwing like a fold up table on a main stage and be like, that's our main stage, no backdrop. It just, to me, it didn't represent tattooing well. And as an artist, if I'm paying money for a booth and I'm going to spend 3 days at your festival and represent you and your brand, better be good. So
yeah, better be special. I mean, I've been to a few of those folding table tattoo conventions, and
man,
it just doesn't work
in
anymore. And some people just don't get that it doesn't work anymore. Tattoo conventions isn't just artists showing up tattooing, and then there's a folding table, we compete a bit, and then there's a stripper after the evening's done. Like that's just not how you put on a good one anymore. Yeah, exactly.
People want an experience, man. They want to come in. Like I say, I want people to come beyond television and experience tattooing at the finest level.
Yeah, because they work way more as well, as I see it, for non-tattoo people as well. Like it's almost like a gateway into, if you're curious about tattoo culture and the people wearing them, this is like the perfect place to go. If it's a good convention, that's the perfect place to go to experience what we are like.
Yeah, I like that. That's another important part, though, is the introduction. Sometimes that's people's first like experience into tattooing or the community. So you got to represent it well. You got to make it visually, stunning and appealing, and make it fun and entertaining. So that's what I did with Hell City. And then back then I noticed a lot of I even had other convention promoters that would come to Hell City and be like, hey, can I walk around with you to just ask you questions? And you know what, I did it to anybody that asked me that, I'd walk around, and I didn't hide secrets, man. It's like I can tell you how to do something a million times. If you don't actually go and do it, so I started seeing conventions, after that, really putting a lot more work into like the visual side of it, organization, paying attention to kind of like ways we were doing it. And nowadays, I think, 20 years later, I think conventions are definitely like that. You see a lot more conventions that have a lot of really like good entertainment, good judges that are actually tattoo artists on the stage, high caliber artists, seminars. You see it all today. So the whole format of tattoo conventions has definitely changed, and I think that Hell City, at least in America, had a huge influence on today's modern shows. We're one of the oldest running conventions in America.
Well, yeah, I think you might have started it all, because the development's been a bit slower over here in Europe where I'm at. Mm-hmm. But I think it definitely started there in the 2000s, and Hell City's probably paved the way majorly for a lot of how you now view tattoo conventions as tattoo lovers, but also how people run tattoo conventions, as you say. Like, it's changed so much in the environment.
Being the promoter is a whole different ballgame. It's a lot of work. But it's, if you watch have you watched the Hell City documentary film?
Not yet. I really want to watch it.
That was filmed over 7 years. So we filmed for 7 years, different events, interviewing different artists. And it's kind of like a different look into tattoo conventions, kind of like we're talking about with the community and, the industry and stuff. It's like an in-depth look into the people behind it. And it's not like Hell City video. It's more of a in-depth kind of heart to heart, journey into the tattoo convention and the community. So it's pretty dope. So if you haven't watched that, it's online for free too. It's just, you type in Hell City Tattoo Fest documentary.
I'll get on that.
And I should pull it up. It's a good watch for anybody,
I bet you.
But it feels good to know that we kind of influenced other conventions too along the way.
Yeah, but I mean, you kind of see it out in the landscape that good conventions, they find like this heart and this identity and form a community of their own almost.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like each convention, you see like different, like you said, like little, they have their own gatherings and not cliques and stuff like that, but, certain artists do certain shows, so one of my favorites was the London convention.
It's a shame what happened there.
Yeah. And that was one of those ones. Detroit, I like the Detroit convention a lot here, in America. I've been doing that show for 18 years or something. And it's one of those shows like that you keep doing every year, and you become a regular, but you do it too because you see all your buddies and crowds and clients. Sometimes you continued clients. And I only try to hit the ones that are worthwhile nowadays too, because it takes a lot of energy and a lot of time to travel everywhere.
It's a lot of work. Also, you got to pack up everything you need and set up everywhere and travel arrangements, everything.
Yep, 3 days working. I try to utilize conventions nowadays. I'll do the convention. I'll get there, do the show, and then especially if we travel outside the U.S. or if we're in Italy or Greece or wherever, and then just stay for like a week's vacation and just let tattooing give us this lifestyle and stay there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's smart. That's smart thinking.
Yeah, I tell people, I'm like, tattooing can take you anywhere, man. If you apply yourself and then utilize it. If tattooing's taking you to, like, let's say Italy to tattoo, utilize it.
Yeah,
it got you over there, and then go see Italy, live life.
But I mean, to get back to tattoo conventions, but it doesn't really matter what size a convention is. What will you say is the makings of a great convention? Like, what do you need to make a great convention?
Great convention is going to be, well, one, the venue. I think a good venue, not out in the middle of anywhere. Really the organization of it, the promotion is a huge thing, so I think promoting a convention is an incredibly big part from a promoter standpoint. As far as an attendee and the artist, to focus on the artist, to me, because the artists are the backbone of the whole show. And they're the backbone that's going to treat the crowd you're bringing in in a certain way too. You know, your artist's energy is going to go off to them. So I think that the caliber of artist, the quality of artist, I do keep in mind people's personalities and attitudes and things like that, because I know that I don't want that one guy that I knew that to be the guy in the bar trying to be a dick at night. You know,
you
so
don't want that, no.
Yeah, carefully selecting the artists based off of talent, but also like personality and how nice they are. You create this kind of like family friendly environment for the convention for all the new people that are coming in that are nervous as hell to even be around, you know, heavily tattooed crowds and stuff like that. And then, you know, on top of that, I think entertainment's a huge thing. You know, and I try to bring entertainment. Like we've had a lot of Guinness World Record performers, like the world's heaviest tattooed man, Lucky Diamond Rich. Rubber Boy. You know, we've had Rubber Boy perform multiple times. So we've had a lot, you know, a lot of really good acts, but they're all kind of like carnival circus. I try not to steer too much away from like the kind of the history side of tattooing with the performances, because I think people that haven't experienced tattooing, like to us, it's like normal. We see it all the time, whatever, you know. But to the people that come, like give them that like historic kind of a, you know, acts and stuff like that revolve around tattooing, or this guy juggling with knives and breathing fire, contortionists. We've got people on stilts going through the show, you know.
That's awesome.
So things like that, man, just really putting a lot of effort into it.
But that also gives it, like, that you stick to that theme also gives it the kind of identity I talked about earlier, that, like, you know, then if you go to Hell City, you're going to have this carnival-esque, like, knock back to the old times, like the freak show days, but in a modern way. Like, that's cool.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I try to give them. I want them to leave there and be like, damn, that was different. You know, I call it like one of the most unique art events that we have in our whole city.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You're not going to walk into a ballroom and see like fucking giant circus banners, you know, because like when you're walking through Hell City, it's like all kinds of circus banners hanging everywhere. Yeah. We don't just have a backdrop, man. We got like a 30-foot wide backdrop that wraps the whole stage, you know, nice lighting and stuff like that. So we put a lot into the production. It's grown over the years.
Oh yeah, definitely.
When we started, it was like a fucking, you know, it was like nice backdrop and, you know, it was nice, but now as it's grown, it's a production. So when people show up, it feels like a 3-day concert.
But it also pays back to you, like it gives you something back when you up the production every time, because people come back and they think it's even better than the last time, right?
Yeah, exactly. For people to see the growth of the show rather than just being stagnant, be like, it's the same shit every year, you know. And that's why I don't have reoccurring acts half the time. Like we've had just a few acts that we've had come back. You know, Rubber Boy was one of them. My wife performed. She likes to do, you know, burlesque acts and stuff like that. So, but yeah, just keeping it mixed up, keeping a variety.
I've seen Savannah at the Scottish Tattoo Convention some years back. It was awesome. Interviewed her there as well for not that good job I had back then, but she was kind enough to let me interview her. But that's a great convention too. But there's a smaller one, but it's an awesome venue, and it's like, even if you don't know anybody, there's just such a welcoming atmosphere they create there. It's awesome.
Yeah. How was the Scotland convention? You like it?
Yeah, I fucking loved it. I sadly haven't been back more than that one time. I'm gonna go for the last one. It's the last one in March. Jim doesn't want to do it anymore. He says 10 is enough. It's very British of him. Very British of him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's get on to that point. I think a lot of convention promoters are probably wondering what direction to go.
Yeah, but I think sometimes it's a good thing to do what Jim does and say, hey, I can't think of any way to top this now, so I'd rather end this one and see if I can find something else to do. Because it's as cool as it is that, for example, with you in Hell City, you've been able to do it for that long.
20 years,
that is so rare to keep it fresh for that long. Like the Brussels Tattoo Convention, how do you keep something fresh for nearly 30 years?
Yeah.
Like, and sometimes,
wow, you know what it is? It's year-round work.
Yeah,
it's like they end their convention, probably just like me, they get right back to the next one. You know, with new ideas.
I do think though that some, and I don't want to name names, but I have seen some in Scandinavia though that are ancient, like really old, as old as the Brussels one, but they mainly survive on, like, you know, locals like just wanting that one convention because there's nothing else to go to. And that's a shame because it could be better. And then people just get lazy. It's awesome artists that come there. So on the artist front, it's awesome, but
people do get lazy.
Subpar, you know.
Yeah. people do get lazy, and that's where you see shows either just stay stagnant or just slowly kind of like dwindle, or they get too comfortable and they don't want to put more effort into it. When that day comes for me, I'm putting a gravestone on it.
Okay, I thought you were gonna say take you out to shoot you in the neck. I'm like, come on, man, you still have a company going. You still have the,
you got another pass.
You've got a lot of things to focus on.
You got other avenues, bro. You'll be all right.
I mean, your son's already grown, but come on, you might want to see him get older.
Exactly. Shit, I got a granddaughter now, man.
Fucking
crazy.
Hell. Congrats on that, by the way.
Thank you.
Fucking
so with Hell City coming back, man, like I'm watching shows come back, and we canceled 2021. Yeah. We were one of the first shows in America to cancel right when the pandemic hit. Because I was just like, dude, I tried to just be a realist on shit. Not really pessimistic, but just more of a realistic guy. So I canceled me. So like, this isn't, no, there's too much fear now. It's not going to fucking happen. We were a month outside of our show, but then we could have done the Phoenix one, but I was just like, nobody's going to come out. 2021, what are we, August already? Yeah, it's already August. People really aren't, I mean, Lollapalooza was big here in Chicago, but I don't think people are wanting to go to indoor, which is tattoo conventions, as many indoor. And I'm going to be honest with everybody right now. We're still so close within the pandemic, the variants and all that shit.
Yeah.
A lot of people are putting masks back on. New York's mandatory to have vaccinations, masks, all this other stuff's going back on. So we're shooting for 2022. 2021, man, I knew was going to be, and that's why I tried to get out, and I did. I got out of my contracts for 2021. That made me miss 2 years, 4 conventions. Man, so it's taking 4 of my shows away. Yeah. So we're working for 2022, but to be a realist, like, if this Delta variant or whatever the hell's going on, another variant just came out in South Korea. I think Delta Plus or something crazy. I think it's called Delta Plus for real.
That's just, I mean, I'm very serious about COVID and I like to be on the safe side, but that name just tickled my funny bone a bit. Like,
but I didn't, so where I'm at now is kind of like, we're working for 2022. That's the last year. I had 3 years of contracts signed before the pandemic hit. That was 6 conventions. That's a lot. So that's the good amount. So 2022, I've been hitting some shows. I did a show that had a pretty decent crowd. It was a smaller venue. It wouldn't fill my venue though. My venue's fucking huge. So
how big we talking?
My venue holds about, I think, 1,600 for the crowd. At a time. And that's people. That's on one floor. Hell City's 3 levels. So there's 3 different floors.
That's a
2
big
main
commission.
floors, but a 3rd floor as well. Yeah. So with a small, a smaller convention crowd is going to make my show look dead. So we're going to organize Hell City 2022, same way we have, same acts. We are a month outside. We're coming back with the same artists, same acts. I'm going to assess it at that point, man, to be honest with you. I don't have contracts signed anymore, beyond 2022.
Got to see what happens.
Yeah, and I got to see if I'm happy with the crowd, because I put a lot of energy, a lot of time, a lot of money into doing the show. And if I'm losing, $50,000, because I think shit's back to normal. But I think that, I don't know.
Do you feel the crowds won't show up even if it's back to normal?
That's what I think. Really, I think the artists are going to come because we're thirsty.
And they remember the atmosphere and all that stuff, and they know the brand, so to speak.
But I don't know if the crowd is going to be as thick, because I think people are still real hesitant to go to indoor events. More opposed to outdoor. Outdoor, you feel safer, but you can still get it. But indoors, where I think the problem lies with a lot of conventions right now, is having crowds comfortable enough to be indoors for a long amount of time, or new clients that want to come in to experience Hell City. That's not their first place they're going.
They're definitely not going to risk it if it feels unsafe. Get that.
So I'm going to sit back. We're going to do the show. My team's ready. We're pretty much organized for our Ohio show, and do these shows. And if it's fun and I feel things are possible of coming back, we'll sign other contracts. If not, I don't even know. I might even just take a couple years, wait till they bring it all back. I got all the equipment and everything. So I don't know. I think just like with everybody else, it's a lot of it's uncertain, but it's dependent on when we come back in 2022 for Hell City.
But 20 conventions is a pretty nice round number, but then you can always come back with a new event.
Yeah, exactly. Well, with this, we've done, with our 20-year anniversary coming up, we've done 28 shows in 20 years.
Wow. Fuck,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
that is
So,
impressive.
pretty crazy. So
But also to get to
minus-
that point where you get to be like, it's like some video game conventions you've heard of, where it's like, oh, they like it over here. All right, we'll take it there as well. Like, we'll move it over
That's
there.
what we did. Yeah, we
Yeah,
went east
exactly.
and
Like,
west with it.
you
'cause-
started in Ohio, right? And then you moved to Arizona, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We started Ohio in 2002, and then we started Arizona in 2008.
Hmm.
So it's been there a
Yeah,
while too.
that's
So
fucking
it's just
impressive, man.
grown and grown and grown. So it'll be a sad day,
Yeah.
you know, if I like
Yeah.
I said, if I put a gravestone on Hell City and call it done, you know, and it's unfortunate because it's not, as with any of these convention promoters or studios that are like closing down from the pandemic, we didn't do anything. We were having a record, dude. Our last fucking show in Phoenix was a record year. We usually close at 11. We went till 12:30 at night.
Wow.
Because there were so many people like entering the competitions and having fun, you know, like it was so much participation that it ran us behind.
That's the dream,
So
man.
we had our record year. That's where I could almost put a gravestone on it now. We had our record year.
Yeah.
At that last show we
Like, at
did,
least you end on a high note.
booming.
Like, at least you end like, that was the best
Exactly.
one. Bam.
I got to experience, you know, one of the artists I got to experience what it was like to put on big ass tattoo conventions. You know, like, are we going to see it again? Hopefully.
I mean, I'd suspect that that at least the culture wants it back. I suspect that much, but they might also take this time because to try and like give more attention to some of these new kinds of conventions that are coming out. Like, for example, the Anime Inc. convention. There's a whole convention focused on Japanese cartoon tattoos. And to me, like, to some people, that sounds like, what the fuck, man? How can you do that? It's so fucking limiting. But the thing is, there's so many nerds nowadays, myself included, and yours truly, I bet as well. Both of us love Star Wars, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, dude. Nerd at heart.
Like you could easily make a Star Wars tattoo convention one day, and you would still fill up easily with artists and everything. And that's impressive to me, that you can make these small niche conventions,
kind of like little niche conventions.
Yeah, exactly.
That might be, and that's what we've talked about that too, with, you know, just trying to wrap our head around where conventions are nowadays. And one of our things was maybe conventions go back to a smaller, you know, like a smaller format. I like the niching, but they might have to size down to accommodate the crowds and stuff like that, you know.
I think so.
I don't think we're going to know the true answer until we get through this, even this year, man, because with the variants are even, if we didn't have the fucking variants right now, I'd be like, fuck yeah, dude, we're off to a great boom, boom, boom. Variants are changing.
But it does seem like it has been especially rough in the US right now.
Yeah, it is.
Like, there's a lot of confusion over there, sadly.
We all took our masks off a little bit too early, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Even when we were taking them off, I was like, we're doing this already? It's only been the fuck? All right. And then here we are.
All right.
Jesus Christ. But you know, that's things that we're going to do at Hell City. Even when we come back, we're going to look at where things are and take these precautions, you know, to keep everybody safe, keep ourselves safe, keep our artists safe. Part of that's expanding booths from 10 feet wide to 12 feet wide. So there's like 6 foot distance. But with tattooing,
so few artists, or just using more the space for booths?
Using more space. Yeah, we're expanding more on the second floor, exactly, with other ballrooms and stuff like that. That way, because everybody's got their booth payments in, so we just had to adjust, you know. But yeah, like hand sanitization stations.
But it is interesting because tattooing already, at least from where I was sitting, you know, as a sociologist, but also a tattoo lover and collector for some time now, it was already a very, at least when you went to good artists, proper artists, it was always like very sanitary already.
Yeah, true.
Like it's always been very on point with that.
Yeah, with everything. Like, tattooers are pretty knowledgeable. Yeah, with bloodborne, you know, cross contamination, first aid. We're actually we're like doctors. You know,
yeah,
I even call myself like Dr. Durb's here. I'm a therapist. I'm a fucking microsurgeon. I'm everything all in one.
To some extent, man. To some extent, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, big time.
Oh, you know, but I mean, I think it will come back. I'm gonna be optimistic. I do think conventions will come back. You already see some coming back here and there, but I think that the ones that are gonna lose out, at least I would guess, are the ones that open up and they're not safe.
Yeah,
because I think people will not remember that well. Like, they're gonna remember that in a bad way then, if they went there and then they're like, oh fuck, man, what am I gonna do? This feels risky.
Do shit to make it safe. Yeah,
exactly.
To me, that would resonate. You know, as an
definitely.
attendee, I'd be like, dude, they didn't give a shit.
They didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, right.
Just like, what the fuck, man? That dude just licked that guy.
Yeah, right. I'm hoping they don't. This is what I hope they don't by then is like require vaccinations for indoor events.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
get, especially in the
It just-
American culture where there's a lot more debate around vaccines. I get that.
Yeah.
A lot that requiring that would kill off a lot of the audience.
Yeah.
Even if they're pro-vaccine, some people are anti-requiring it. So
Yeah,
that would
it's kind
make
of
a
like
lot
as
of
a
them.
promoter. It's like, what do you do? Kind of hands are tied at that point. You know, it's like,
And it must be difficult, but it must also be very teaching right now. Like you must learn a lot of stuff you can use in the future, I would imagine.
yeah. One of the things that I did when COVID first hit, as far as like teaching and shit like that, as far as during all this, is like for 2 months we were in our shop here, but we have the supply company, so we were packing orders. We're an essential business, but the whole time I was working on the shop too. I was putting in sanitation stations in every room, putting signs up, kind of like changing the protocols, putting this whole check-in point, you know, when you're coming into the studio.
Yeah.
You know, and with all that, it's just kind of that's changed. But I was keeping I'm probably going to utilize a lot of stuff we did here at Health City as well.
Yeah.
You know, so there'll be stations, just sanitary, you know, areas and stuff like that. But yeah, during that whole thing, I was thinking like, okay, how when they say we can open again, how can I get my 12 artists back to work? I had people that moved here right from Puerto Rico that just
because it's not just
started
you
working.
actually employ a fair few people there.
Yeah, so it was like 12 people I thought I was responsible for. So I was in here preparing the shop for the day that they were like, all right, you can open if you have these protocols, you know? Yeah. So a lot of studios were actually contacting me and be like, hey, do you have the files for the wording you're using? And I put it all online. Like I said, I don't hide anything, man. I'm not competitive.
I think that's a good thing. I actually spoke to Robbie Ripple in my first interview for this new series here about that too. Like, it's so refreshing to see even guys in your generation who are like the ones on the cusp right now, like just freely sharing instead of how it used to be.
Yeah, dude.
Because it helps so much, especially in crisis periods like this. It helps.
Yeah, that's what
so
it was
much.
too. I felt like, like tattooing had taken a fucking hit because everybody got closed down. California's closed down forever. So I just I took my time, researched, wrote stuff out, you know, borrowed wording from other stuff and kind of created all this wording on our site using our signs. And then I just put it out there. I even put the link to the page, like, use this just to cohesively allow the tattoo industry to like have wording and language and kind of getting ready to reopen in the right way. Cause we already know we're safe. We weren't wearing masks. A lot of us weren't wearing masks to tattoo before that, but we were using universal precautions, you know, things like that. So it's like,
I mean, you already had tattoo artists with gloves up to there before then, like before COVID hit, and fucking aprons and everything.
Dude, I go to the dentist and I see shit they do wrong.
Yeah, I have heard
from a tattoo artist standpoint.
Actually, I met a dentist at a tattoo convention. I think it was actually the Scottish one where I met a Scottish dentist who were like, "Fuck, man, I'm here to learn like methods for how to like keep my equipment clean." And I'm like, "Wow, man, you can't keep your equipment cleaner than a tattoo machine."
Yep. Or a lot of it's cross contamination and touching the wrong things and not knowing clean hand, dirty hand, and you know, shit like that. It's just baffling to think that tattoo artists are actually more aware, you know, because we deal directly with the blood, plasma, things like that.
I think the reason tattoo artists have been so up, at least in modern times, I would call it, like from 2000s and up, especially, have been so on the whole sanitary thing and developing better habits and everything as a community and as a whole industry, is because when you come from a marginalized group like tattooed people were at that time, especially artists, you're just like, well, we got to work 10 times harder so people will fucking respect us.
Yeah.
Because if we come with the same level as the other industries have right now, they're going to be like, yeah, but you're tattoo artists, so
yeah,
fuck off.
I've always felt that, like, we got to represent ourselves literally to be taken seriously as tattoo people. You know, there's definitely a duty to that, and I think there's a duty as a tattooed person to represent tattooed, like heavily tattooed people the right way. Don't be a fucking dipshit out there. Exactly. You know, like,
don't live up to the stereotypes they used to have. Like, show, like, I hope to do that. I'm not that covered yet. Hopefully soon.
Yeah,
but
get your sleeve.
Got my sleeve, got my chest. Hopefully a lot of sleeves soon. Starting the legs next year. Hopefully, but I even at now I try to represent that. Yeah, I'm an academic, and I try to put that foot first because I want to show that. Well, it doesn't matter that I'm tattooed. I'm still smart. I'm still
Exactly.
ambitious within that. That's also why I created this show to show that, hey, we can actually do this within this tattoo community. We can sit and talk about the culture and try and build on it.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
because
an important part.
Because harking back to what you said, what we talked about before, with like how the communities changed, and there are luckily more guys like you that are like, hey, I figured out this thing. Here's how you do it to other people. I think that's what's made tattoo conventions better now for artists as well, because that's what happens at conventions too. People are like, wow, how do you do that with your machine? And back in the day, it would be like, fuck off. That's how I do it with my machine. Nowadays, it's like, hey, you want to see? Here, come see.
I always say, I'm sure the forefathers of tattooing are rolling in their graves.
Yeah, but that's probably a good
secretive. But it was so exactly. But it was so secretive back then.
Yeah,
that's why there was a lot of issues back in the day with tattooing. People sharing, like Huck Spalding. A lot of artists hate him because he was giving out information that was regarded so highly secret. And I can see the reasoning, because they could probably see the industry just blowing up and taking their jobs away or whatever back then. But I always say that the forefathers are rolling in their graves because of all the secrets that are handed out nowadays. And stuff like that was so highly regarded and secretive. Even how to solder needles, like all that shit. Some of these lost arts, like soldering needles. I was at a convention, man. They had a soldering needle booth, and fucking barely anybody knew how to solder needles.
Shouldn't.
Like go tune a coil machine. Actually, take it apart, rebuild it, and tune it. That's a lost art almost nowadays. Except for like machine builders that obviously do it. But as far as the artists working in some of these shops, something goes wrong with their coil machine, they don't know what the hell to do.
No, but I mean, you spoke about this. I think it was in an article you recently told too, like that it's a good thing that people can focus more on the art, but it's also a good thing that there are some people alive to like keep these old arts, these old skills alive to some extent.
And that's the whole thing. Yeah, like the rotary machines are great. You don't really have to tune them. I fucking love them. I work with both. Really, I still line with coil machines, so real fluent with it. But I love the luxury. I do love the luxury, and I try to stay, even tattooing at this point, I try to stay up to date with everything. So I work with batteries and pens and cartridge needles and stuff, but I still like to outline with traditional tattoo needles and coils. I can't get too far away from my roots. I gotta be buried with a coil machine and a rotary machine. My casket.
Fuck a casket, man. Just stretch you out. So
right, exactly.
Do me honor. Do a Viking funeral for the Danish guy. Just like, put you on a longboat.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I bet you can get some good fireballs going with America. What you can buy in America. I mean.
Goddamn. I'll be looking like Darth Vader out there burning. Shit.
No, but I think it's a good thing that conventions have become a place for artists to share what they figure out as well, because that also strengthens the community in the tattoo world.
And nowadays you see there's so many online seminars and stuff too. Like, have you been on the Reinventing the Tattoo app or anything?
Not that one, but I saw some of the stuff that, for example, Guy Aitchison had put out. As well, which is also like, fuck, man, it's awesome. I mean, he's an old time as well, but he's sharing all these good tips and trying to teach people, and it's awesome.
That's where Guy's at nowadays. It's like on the education tip of everything. Not only is he still tattooing and just kicking ass, he's really big on the education side of things, which is inspiring to see somebody like him tattooing as long as he has to still be just driven. But that's where the pandemic also took a lot of things in the that direction too. Like, there are a lot of online seminars now that you can tune into and pay a little bit of money to attend them online in the safety of your home, without being around like a crowd or anything. So
like, it's almost a good side to the whole thing that like it made artists in the tattoo community, at least from where I'm sitting, like reinvent what can we do now? What should we do now? And then some of them came up with these awesome ideas to be like, well, we can try and improve the rest of the industry. Like, we can try and do stuff for that.
I think tattooing was at a point of like all of us, like, the fuck do we do now? That was kind of the feeling. Even in Ohio, man, when they closed all the businesses, tattooing wasn't even being mentioned as one of the businesses that was going to be allowed to reopen.
Damn, man.
And a lot of us were like, the fuck? So I think a lot of us are just in limbo, which times like that sometimes creates some of the best stuff.
Mm.
So I think the advancements that tattooing's made during this pandemic have been more, online platforms and a lot of podcasts. And so I think it's all lended to the next stage of tattooing.
Yeah.
Maybe the pandemic is what was needed to take
Like
tattooing
kickstarted almost.
yeah, and take it.
Yeah, because a lot of us, especially among you artists, are ADHD children with nothing to do then, and a lot of creative thinking. So you just fuck it, gotta find something to do.
Yeah,
figure out some stuff,
Yeah, a lot of people just start doing live, Instagram live, and just I think it kicked it in differently, in a good way. In a good way, I think it put attention onto the online side of things. Like, hey, we can sit at home and have discussion panels. We can all still hang out, 8 of us, and talk about a topic. Because I did a lot of different podcasts that were discussion panels as well. And we were doing that before the pandemic. Nobody was really even. I mean, there were Skype meetings, but there weren't discussion panels like what you were seeing at conventions, because we were seeing those a lot of conventions. The discussion panel things got pretty big at conventions, but we can't get together. So utilizing like Zoom and Skype and stuff, we were able to have different conversations or to talk about different things, or where are we with tattooing, where are we with conventions, and I think that everything happens for a reason. I hate the fucking fact the pandemic even happened, but because the pandemic happened, made tattooing kind of grow in a different direction a little bit.
You're kind of positive about where it's going now.
Yep. And I think once we get back to normal, it all strengthened tattooing. If conventions come back and we're right back where we were, that's awesome. We got tattooing back, but we've also been able to expand to this next level, digitally and socially. So I think it's cool. The pandemic's not cool.
No.
But the modern advancements, like I'm talking about,
you got to get the best thing out of it you can.
Yeah.
Even in a bad situation. I think it's American saying, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade.
Yeah. And I think we all did, man, with tattooing. So,
and it seems so.
If we can just slowly come back to conventions and stuff like that.
You did see some, and I think it works better for them. Like, some of the seminars kind of tried to keep going online, but I don't think that could work for a normal kind of convention. Do you?
No, I don't think so. It's funny you mentioned that, because we did an online, it was with Gabe and Guy and everybody with the reinventing stuff.
Yeah.
And we did right when we came back from the pandemic, they did like a little mini, like I think it was a 1 or 2 day thing where there was like a seminar, and then it would come to like a shop owner just hanging out, being like, hey, what's up? We're hanging out at my shop today. I'm going to take you over, and like walked around, and then you would jump on with like another artist that was working in their shop that would just be answering questions from live. Yeah. So they tried to kind of, and it was really cool, and it went really smooth, but it was 2 days. They tried to kind of mimic, like a convention and give you different things to watch. So it's cool, but it's not the same experience as.
No. There's something specific when you're there physically at a convention and you see people. Also, from what I've noticed, like, I've never been that good at knowing a lot of heavily tattooed people in my daily life. I know some, but when you're at a convention for a guy like me, then you feel like, fuck, man, I can just chill out and relax with all these people that are fucking into tattoos like me. Like, even the people that are not tattooed here, not as tattooed as me, are still as into it as most people that are even more tattooed than me. Like, so,
Yeah, exactly.
You just relax at a convention, I feel.
It feels because like I call it the tattoo family.
Yeah,
you feel
definitely.
Home, and I definitely feel like that. That is a good point, actually. I think that's why I've always loved conventions. I'm like, these guys get the same mentality, same appreciation, same interest typically. So yeah, it's when I was introduced to conventions is when I realized, like, tattooing is fucking awesome. It's not just sitting on a chair making tattoos. It's like every aspect of it's awesome.
Yeah, I remember my first convention as well. Same, man.
Yeah, it just changed your whole perspective. You're like, this community's rad. Usually like a lot of personalities too in tattooing. That's what I like too. When you meet these characters and people, that are your friends for a long time, it's just different. They're not there to be super serious. It's like everybody's got a personality in tattooing, a lot of humor, things like that. So I like every aspect of it, man. That's why I dedicated my life to it. I think once
I mean, hopefully you like it when you.
Yeah, right. But back when I started, tattooing or even getting tattooed, man. It was like, it wasn't everywhere. It was like almost like found my own thing back then.
Yeah.
I found my own thing that like pissed people off. It was rebellious. It was creative. You know, it just kind of, I just embraced it, man. I was already an artist, but when I found tattooing and just kind of like the personality of tattooing, I liked, you know, a lot of
I remember
punk rock
my
stuff. I was
like
around.
even when I got my first one in 2008 in Denmark, it still like pissed people off. Like that shows you how lacking behind we can be here. But
Yeah. When was that?
2008.
Okay. Yeah.
So, uh,
Do you guys look at American tattooing do you guys look to see what's going on here? Because I know a lot of like when my wife's from England, obviously.
yeah,
She says
UK.
that, yeah, people like watch America like a kind of like a soap opera, see what the hell's going on over here.
Almost like that
Comical
does
to see
happen.
all
That does happen. I mean, the
crazy
first
shit
time
going on over here.
I remember, we're getting a bit sidetracked, but I remember the first time I ever like really found out I wanted tattoos was when I first time saw LA Ink, or was it
Yeah, that's what I'm
Miami? No,
thinking.
Miami
Yeah.
Ink in like 2005. And I was just like, yes. And
Yeah,
then later,
yeah.
when I've become a tattoo nerd now and an academic, and I've researched it and so that I found out, wait, they staged that so heavily, like they clipped it the
Yeah.
right way. Like,
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
hell, man! Awesome
They could do
artwork.
anything.
Not that it wasn't good tattooing; it was just fucking hell.
It's editing, man. Yeah.
So
But
different
those
in real life.
shows, see, even those shows, I think,
Yeah.
like I say, come beyond television and experience tattooing. That's one of the things I've always said. But I think I get a lot of people, especially in interviews, are like, "What do you think of the TV shows?" I'm like, I think they're great. There's a lot of hate on the shows, but I think as far as like the acceptance of tattooing,
Oh no, the effect they have is absolutely great. I get that some people that are way into to getting tattooed now or work in the industry are like, but the effect they have, Ink Master, all that stuff, is amazing. The only shows that I can have a problem with sometimes are the let's redo your tattoo or let's fix your broken tattoo,
yeah,
because they
it
really
doesn't
don't spin
represent
it
it.
the right way. They don't spin it the right way. But let's get into that in another episode. I'll gladly have you back to discuss
Yeah,
the
I'll
two
be able to
shows,
talk
man.
about that.
Fucking hell.
Fuck yeah.
We will bring in Robbie as well. You can sit there.
Yeah, I know Robbie.
No. He actually told me to say hello to you as well.
Oh, rad. Fuck yeah. I love that dude.
Yeah, he's amazing. Talking about big personalities, man. He's a fucking awesome dude.
He's one of the dudes I like conventions. People like him, buddies you see like, what's up?
Yeah.
They're
Definitely,
rowdy
he's
and
awesome.
just having a good time in life too. I think that's why tattooers are, not rowdy, but just kind of like real, just like, what's up, bro? Because we live this fucking carefree life. We live an exciting life, man. We're around good people, fun times. Conventions just add to that.
It's big ass barbecues to some extent. Like.
Yeah, some of the best times in tattooing are from me doing conventions and just partying, and you never know what hotel room you're gonna be partying in or bumping elbows with.
Yeah,
it's fucking rad, man. I love it.
Man, absolutely. Like this. I mean, I think that's like, if there's anything to take away from this interview and this topic, like it's just, there's something special about conventions you can't replicate online, and like the kind of family like atmosphere you can have even with strangers. If it's a good convention, it just can't be done any other way.
No other way. And if you're a tattoo artist and you haven't been to a convention,
go.
That should be one of the top things on your list, because
that's like some of the artists that have started like in the last couple of years now with the pandemic, that definitely should be on their list to like ASAP when it opens up again.
Yeah, the amount of people that have started that haven't been able to experience.
Exactly, man. I pity them so much, man. That is.
Yeah, man. I didn't think about that.
No.
The people that got into tattooing during the.
I mean, it reminds me a bit of one of my favorite quotes from a Scottish comedian who actually retired and lives in Florida now, I think. But he once said that, and he's a bit tattooed himself, not as heavily as either of us, but like he has some tattoos. But he once said back in the like early 2000s or some like years ago, he was like, if you ever want to know how beige you are as a person, go to a tattoo convention.
Right? Yeah, for real. You'll realize you're a normie at that point.
Exactly, like it's a healthy thing to do, man. Even as a just a little bit tattooed person, if you go to the tattoo convention, you're gonna be like, shit, man, I'm not badass.
Right. This guy's rowdy. It's true though, man. That's a good.
Like you see some of these young boys, especially, that come in with like one underarm tattoo, and they're like, "Fuck no, man!" I'm like, go to one tattoo convention, like, shit.
Yeah, next thing you know, they're getting fucking covered.
Yeah,
Those are the
exactly.
you see turn into like the big collectors and shit. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
5 years
Fucking
later, they're like fucking just covered.
shit, man. Where I go now?
Right?
They can always do a Yalsa and just cover the same bodysuit 3 times.
Yeah, right. God, Yalzi, yeah, he's going through the second one now.
And that's a dream one I want to interview one day, man.
Yeah, Yalzi's a good dude.
About
I'm
collecting.
friends with him,
Plus,
too.
he's so into like political stuff and all that. He seems like a great
Yeah,
guy.
yeah. He you know, he has a hand in the Puerto Rico convention. He's
Yeah,
gone
absolutely.
through.
I can imagine.
I mean, those guys were handed. God, the Puerto Rico convention is fucking amazing. It's one of my favorite ones.
I've seen some of your covering, like some of
But
your
man, like
posts up on it.
Hafet and Yalzi, like they've been hit hard because they did their convention, and then I think the hurricane hit Puerto Rico, and then I think there was like an earthquake that hit Puerto Rico.
And that's the whole corrupt government going on right now. I've seen him post a lot. Like,
and then the government, then the pandemic. You know, some shows. I mean, if they do stay around, it's nothing. You know, it'd be awesome if they stay around, but if they don't, it's nothing any of them did, man.
no, it's
You
no
know?
small feat if they can keep that alive.
Exactly. The pandemic's changed everything, you know. But I am excited for conventions to make a comeback.
Same.
If you know, if everything stays, you know, getting better without the variants and all this stuff. And I think that we're going to be onto a different era of conventions. Like some of the things that we're working on for Hell City 2022, you know, is going to be a lot of online stuff that you're going to be able to experience from the convention digitally, you know.
But I think that's a cool thing. I think it's cool to add that to it, like not to remove the physical convention, but to be like, hey, if you want to watch this on Twitch or like see some live competitions or something like that, like it's brought something to it. Like that's an amazing way to innovate, because they've already done that in skating competitions and like anime conventions and shit like that. So why not bring it to the Tattoo convention? Like,
and that's what we want to do too. Is kind of like with how things have changed, you know, kind of keep up with that. So
I can't wait to see some of the
seminar people. Like the seminars, you know, may be there for the attendees, but you may be able to. We're talking about trying to pay online as well.
I'll happily do a seminar for you guys about tattooing and identity. That's my specialty.
Hell yeah, and then do like online seminars and stuff like that too. You know, so we're going to try to utilize some of what's been going on. You know, discussion panels are probably going to be live, you know, online and stuff like that too. So just combine what's going on with that.
Man, I got to keep an eye out for that, even because I probably won't be able to go to Ohio, especially if I move to Scotland a bit to do a PhD. But
if you could tune in and watch the bands,
exactly, man.
You know,
you don't feel you miss out in the same way, man.
Yeah, you buy an online ticket, you get to watch bands, competitions, all the entertainment, seminars. You know, things.
Well, I know where my money's going in 2022.
We're going to implement a little bit of it 2022 to see, you know, kind of how things are going, but then add on. But I think that's probably where conventions are at next, is utilizing the changes we talked about, how the advancements now with social media, and we had to go, you know, more digital, but combining those two to give people an online experience now.
Exactly.
Because we didn't do that before. You know, we didn't, you couldn't watch Hell City online. You know, I
think that's going to be amazing. Like, especially if you can do it in a slight pay-per-view kind of way, it's also going to give more revenue to the convention scene as well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's going to take a lot to even just get people to
like, you got to also have a crew for that and everything.
It's not like so it'd probably just be like a small ticket price, just like admissions. You just pay admissions, you can experience things online. So that's kind of where we're at, I think, you know, as far as conventions. I don't know what else can be different coming back in other than safety protocols and then online,
of course,
online events, really, you know.
I mean, I can't wait to see what the future brings, but we got to round off. So have you thought about somebody you want to shout out first?
I want to shout out a few people. One, an artist of mine here, Fawn Baker. She's a real amazing female tattoo artist, amazing painter. To me, she's every day has that energy. She's inspirational to me because watching her work every day, just freehand these crazy scenes and cosmic anything. She just freehands everything.
Freehand queen, man.
So Fawn Baker, and then so you can look her up too. She's on, if you go to Red Tree Tattoo, she's on there, or Fawn Baker on Instagram as well. Another guy that I don't want people to forget about is Marty Holcomb. And Marty Holcomb is one of my artists here, but Marty Holcomb is also the godfather of tattooing here in Columbus, Ohio. He opened up his first shop in 1972 when I was born. He taught the guy, he apprenticed the guy that I got apprenticed by, Tim Miller. So I have direct lineage to Marty, but Marty also learned from the infamous legendary Stoney St. Clair.
Wow.
So he's like tattoo fucking like, history.
He's a living fucking archaeology artifact, man.
So the thing is like some of these guys that have been, artistically tattooing forever that you might not see because they're not on the tip of all the digital platforms and stuff like that. Now he is actually on Instagram under Marty Holcomb. But to me, watching him work, like he freehands everything so elegantly on the skin, I guess would be the word. He's a painter, so when he tattoos and when he draws on the skin, it's crazy. And he's 72 years old. He's tattooing just as well as the kids nowadays. He's done legendary things with tattooing. So if you guys don't know who Marty Holcomb is, go look him up. Look up his books, his paintings,
definitely, man.
Everything. He was really good friends with like Lyle Tuttle and them. He's kind of from that area.
Wow.
He tattoos for me here at Red Tree. He like I said, he had shops since 1972. His landlord's passed. The family, the daughter got the old location. She wanted to turn it into like a car wash. So Marty, I was like, that's for me, man. So I feel like I want to pay it forward, take care of Marty, and focus on tattooing and not running shops or anything, creating as much art as he can, at 72.
I mean, you don't want to be running a lot of shops when you're 72. You just want to,
No, I just want him to, exactly. But people need to really know that name as far as the history of like artistic tattoo artists, really good dudes. Marty Holcomb. And
absolutely, that's one for the history books, man.
Exactly, yeah.
Right, my shout out is going to be to an artist I really like from Scotland, actually, originally from Slovenia, called Little Kaya. She's really cool, does her own like soft, new, traditional kind of thing. Absolutely awesome, lovely person. Friends with the guy that actually does the Scottish Tattoo Convention, so if you want to catch her, you can probably catch her there at the convention next year if it gets to happen, hopefully. Hopefully, man. Jesus. Right, Durb, you want to plug any of your stuff?
If you guys want to see more just like what I do, my businesses, I guess I'll start from the ground up with my tattoo studio. It's called Red Tree Tattoo Gallery. You can check it out. Go to redtreetattoo.com or Red Tree Tattoo on Instagram. It's a private appointment only, consultation only tattoo studio with 12 artists. Super nice in here. It's also connected to True Tattoo Supply, which we have out in like a jumbo warehouse, 10,000 square foot warehouse. So my artists can utilize, the supplies. They get a little discount, like shipping, all that stuff too. So it's nice to be able to do that. But yeah, True Tattoo Supply, we're Ohio's largest tattoo supply company. Red Tree is actually Ohio's largest tattoo studio. And then obviously I put on the Hell City Tattoo Festival as well, almost every year till the pandemic. But you can check out stuff there. True Tattoo Supply, if you go to truetattoosupply.com. Hell City is just hellcity.com. And those are pretty much the three main things I do on top of my own tattooing. Which you can, if you go to durbmorrison.com, you can see like my tattooing, paintings, media stuff from last 3 decades of me tattooing, videos, all that good stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing nowadays. True Tattoo Supply, Red Tree, and Hell City.
Man, it's been awesome having you, Durb.
Definitely. Thanks for having me, man.
Amazing.
I appreciate it.
And it's been great. And hopefully tattoo conventions will be back and better than ever, like we hope.
Fingers crossed, man. I think they will.
Definitely. Right, people. Thank you for listening in.